you so much. You may have your seat. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are watching us from, all over the world, you are welcome to this special occasion of World Radio Day. World Radio Day, according to UNESCO 2023 report, highlights the enduring impact of radio in information, entertainment, and in educating the people across the globe. And at the same time, radio provides opportunities, to connect communities, to connect the people all over the world. And at the same time, it provides the platforms for various voices, for them, to get across to people out there. My name is Dr. Itai of Florencio, and today we will be having a wonderful time to celebrate the World Radio Day for today. I'm so happy to have you with us on the show today. On behalf of the management and staff of Immaculate Group of Companies, on behalf of the Director of Radio, who is also the Director of Operations, Sheung Awodele, on behalf of the CEO of Immaculate Group of Companies, that's the person of our dear Bishop Philip Oyewale, I want to welcome you to this special program. A round of applause, please. All right. We are not going to be alone in the house today. We have important dignitaries. It's a pleasure to host important and cosmopolitan dignitaries who will be joining us right in the house today. And first on the list, I would like to introduce them to you one after the other. His Excellency, Ambassador Yemi Farumbi, who is also a veteran media icon, Nigeria's ambassador to the Philippines once, whose expertise of His Excellency. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us in the house today. It's so good to see you. Over the years, you've been like the radio yourself, the television yourself. Thank you so much for coming around. Also, I have in the house today Chief BC Adeshola, a veteran broadcaster and former executive chairman of the Broadcasting Corporation of Oyo State, whose leadership has significantly shaped the broadcasting industry. Join me also to come Chief BC Adeshola in the house. Likewise, let me celebrate the presence of Dikinowola Bioladejo, the Southwest Chairman of the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, BON, and the CEO of Impact Business Radio, IBR, a big man, so to say, so he's in the house today, a distinguished leader in radio broadcasting. Sir, it's a pleasure having you in the house with us. Okay, so today we will definitely be discussing something very important, and I would like to start with Ambassador Yemi Farumbi. You are our first discussant today, and how it's going to be is that we will be looking at the evolution of radio for the information of our listeners and those who are watching us across the globe. We will be, Ambassador will be taking us through the topic, the transformative journey of radio and its vital roles in broadcasting, essentials, information for democracy, crisis management, and complex emergencies. Big topic, huh? But we'll be having a wonderful time while listening to him today. Ambassador, let me get you engaged. And you're going to be the first discussant today. After your brief lecture, we will have the opportunity, to ask questions from people who might want to share from your wealth of experience spanning through the years. Please, with a clap ovation, please just welcome Ambassador Yemi Farumbi as he takes us through his first lecture. Thank you, Ambassador.
I'd like to thank you very sincerely for this opportunity of sitting with my brothers and colleagues to discuss the 100 years, as it were, of radio in Africa. And I think that is the significant thing. Why is it 100 years? Because it started in December 1923, formally in South Africa. In 1927, formally started in Kenya. There is no unified voice about it start in West Africa, but most people will talk about it start in 1934 in Ghana's West Africa. But as a matter of fact, it started in Nigeria in 1932.
It's a great one.
But what was radio being used for then? It was an imperial tool. It was an empire service. It was a French service, primarily from the home country, for those who were working in various parts of Africa, to let them know what was happening at home, or sometimes to ensure that those who were serving the imperial powers were working according to the dictates of the imperial government at home. Radio didn't start in Africa for Africans. It was for the foreign elements that were working here. And it continued like that for a long time. Not that the people themselves can afford to buy it, but after the Second World War, during the Second World War and after, the importance of radio grew. Because in any case, those who were involved in the World War had colonies in Africa, and they needed the Africans to join the war forces. So they needed to mobilize the people to begin to see the World War not as a war between some foreign people, but as a war belonging to all of us. And so it was possible for Nigerians to be sent, Nigerian forces to be sent to Burma, particularly in Asia, to go and fight and confront the Japanese forces, and so on. And there was need to mobilize the people, to get them sensitized, to get to begin to identify with the interests of the metropolitan powers. I don't mean metropolitan broadcasting services. Because secondarily, metropolitan broadcasting services of Deakin has not only a radio, it has a television too, independent African television. But I'm talking about the metropolitan powers now. But shortly after the war, there was a divergence in the use of radio. You will notice that France was building Africans into French citizens. What you call, I would call it the Frenchification of the blacks. The ultimate ambition of an African in a French colony was to become a French citizen. So they were being indoctrinated in large doses And radio was a very good weapon to use to make Africa to begin to think like French people, to make Africa to begin to accept that they didn't need local governance, and that the best for each of those colonies was to be able to elect their citizens to serve on the French Parliament. The British didn't do exactly that. The British started thinking of having indigenous programs in indigenous languages for the people. And so in Nigeria in 1951, a Department of Broadcasting Services was established in the Department of Telegraphy. So it was hosted within telephony, telegraphy, more of an engineering fad than a social mobilizer. And then by 52, they started calling Nigerian Broadcasting Service. They had stations in Ibadan, had in Enugu, had in Kaduna, had in colonial headquarters like Ijebu-Ode and so on. And they were allowed to produce local programs that would be of interest, minimally as it were, to the people. Now the critical thing is this divergence. Britain was developing Africans, perhaps for Africa. Britain was only interested in our economy, was only interested in our gold, our diamond, and happily we haven't had much crude oil at that time. They were interested in our tin, our cassiterite, our columbite, our coal. They were not interested in our culture. They were not interested in tampering with our culture, as it were. But French was different. The French was interested in the totality of those human beings. And radio was a very, very useful medium for them. Of course, consequent on the World War and consequent on the impact of radio worldwide, there was also beginning, particularly in the West African countries and the East African countries, the English-speaking, the urge to have freedom, the urge not to be under the British, the urge not to be under any imperialist. And so you could find that in Zambia, for example, there was an underground radio, Radio Freedom as it was called. For the MPLA, UNITA in Angola, you could have underground radio too, to prepare the people, to create an awareness for them, within them, that it was important for them to be free from the shackles of the colonial power. But why is it so easy to use radio? Cheap to run, easy to operate, easy to access. Even in those early days, across the British West Africa largely, they used radio division boxes. There's a loudspeaker attached to some wired neck cable, and you got a radio station. Originally, it was in Nigeria, it was wired to Radio Nigeria, but in Western Nigeria, it became wired to WMBS when the government of the West started its own service. There has been a close relationship between political development and radio development, because since the imperial people use this as a tool, when Nigerians took over, they also saw it as a tool. And so the expansion of radio became dependent on political changes within the country. But as I said, in the first world, as you like to call them, they used radio to inform, to entertain, and to educate. But in a third world like Nigeria, we use radio to inform, to educate, and to entertain. Why is there a change? Why are we not doing the same thing the way they do it in the West? It's because of our own demand. Yes, people have a demand for information. And that is why, in spite of technological development, radio is still the common man's friend. It's still the thing that the Fulani herders will carry. It's still the thing that you find in cocoa farms hung on trees. Why? Why are they not doing podcasts and all of that? Because of low penetration of ICT, internet. Internet penetration in Africa is less than 20%. And where it is even available, it is beyond the reach of the common man. So if you still want to reach the common man today, to give him information about what is happening and what is not happening, it is radio. And that is why its credibility, its believability, the trustworthiness, its objectivity and impartiality become very important. Unfortunately or fortunately for radio, what will have been the threat to it is the social media. They've lost on the grounds of believability, on credibility, on impartiality, on objectivity. So when you give somebody a news now on the streets of Ibadan, it's going to ask you which radio station said it. You're not going to say which blogger. So in spite of all the changes, radio has become still the main source of news for people. And of course, we're in light need of education. Education in too many things. Even imagine when we had COVID. You had to tell people to wash hands, things that ordinarily you would take for granted elsewhere. You have to tell them before you eat, do this, don't shake hands, don't do all of that. These are basically things that you take for granted elsewhere. So we still have to teach people. We still have to educate them. We still have to, we're in short of food. We are going to open reservoirs. You know, that's what we are going to open now. They say we have some food reserve somewhere. I haven't seen the economic nexus that will immediately bring the price of rice or beans or garri down when we open the reservoirs. But radio will still have to teach the people. It is time to go to your farm. It is time to begin to prepare your ground, because the meteorological department is saying that rain will start at this and this and this. It is time to plant this type of product, because the intensity of rain for this year might be so that the water supply will be too much for your cassava or too much for your pay. So we still have to do all of that. We haven't developed. This is not like Israel, for example. Israel had reached a stage that when they want to do irrigation, they know the water requirement for each plant. So you don't give them excess. But what do we do here? We still do massive irrigation. So a plant that needs maybe 10 millimeters of water might be given 100 millimeters. Then it gets suffocated. You know, and because I was in Philippines and they love rice, they have 117 varieties of rice. We have only 3 here. We had Igbimo, up to Efalaye there. You have the Ofada there. Then you have one coming from Sokoto and all of that area. But they have a rice that grows in water. So if you go and put a rice that cannot be covered by water and you put, and there is a tsunami and the whole place is flooded, the rice is destroyed. I mean, so those are the kind of knowledge that radio can still give and which we are in need of. And that's why it's still the common man medium. I think I'll talk to him.
Yeah. A round of applause for Ambassador Yemi Farumbi. Yeah, I mean, it's been eye-opening, really. You know, when you think about the fact that some other countries are even doing extremely well in the area of agriculture. But then I was so fascinated about the evolution of radio so far, you know, and up to this time around, we still do not